Howdy, howdy, and welcome to yet another Workshop Wednesday. Today it's all about what's new. We're going to cover the updates and features released in August 2019. For those that are new to Workshop Wednesday, welcome. My name is Chris Mercer. I do go by Mercer, and I'm the co-founder here at measurementmarketing.io. You can find our content featured on such platforms as Digital Marketer, Conversion Excel, Social Media Examiner, countless others, and of course, all of the different courses and trainings that we offer over at measurementmarketing.io. As course, what do? We actually help people just like you figure out how to use all these tools like analytics and Tag Manager and Data Studio. And we use the measurement marketing framework for that. That really is just 5 key pieces. It's planning, figuring out what questions are important, measuring. That's the building part, making sure you're actually tracking all the stuff so you can get some answers. Reporting is actually building out dashboards like using Data Studio so you can get those answers and ultimately take action that you can start to benchmark and forecast your future results. And then you optimize against your forecast. That's kind of the measurement marketing framework in a nutshell. Now, what we're going to cover today is going to be a lot of different stuff, in particular about one particular tool. Those of you who are fans of Workshop Wednesday already know the tool I'm talking about. It's Data Studio. Spoiler alert, yet more changes with Data Studio, more updates to Data Studio. So I'm pretty excited about that. But there's also a few other things we'll cover with some of the other platforms, including Facebook Analytics. Was an interesting little report that they've come out with recently there. So we'll take a look at that. Your main goal with all of this is just grab one new thing, one new concept, one new thing you can practice or be aware of. Then you come back, rewatch this, and then you can add more new things to it. So otherwise you tend to get, if you try to do too much too soon, you get really frustrated and overwhelmed by everything. All right, you ready to get started? Let's do it. What's new? Updates and features released in August 2019. Now, of course, we're just going to jump right in as we are often want to do here. With analytics, Google Analytics itself, there wasn't really a whole lot that have come out. There will be, though, because of this new web and app property that they came out with, there's the account type that they came out with. And that's the one we talked about in the last updates that we did for Workshop Wednesday. So there's going to be a lot of cool things coming down the pike with that new platform. We'll obviously be doing workshops on that as well as we get a little bit more experience with it. It's just brand new. So I figure probably not a lot of changes coming through this particular version, but starting in the future workshops, we'll look at the other version of Google Analytics, which is Google Analytics 2.0. For those not familiar with that, I'm just going to show you where that is. So you can go up there and go to create a property. You'll now notice you've got apps and web as a new thing. So it's a brand new feature, and basically what kind of people are calling 2.0 Google Analytics, right? It's Google Analytics 2.0. So it's a completely different platform is how I would mentally think about this. It's a completely different setup, has completely different tags in Google Tag Manager. So it's completely separate, but it can work in parallel if you want to play with it. So it can work in parallel with your existing setup. And this one offers kind of a limited version of what your current Google Analytics offers, which is why you wouldn't want to just flip and switch over from one to the other. You can keep them both running. But we'll be keeping an eye on this with future workshops. Again, this is really brand new, probably just rotated out to your account over the past month or so. So if you see it back there, that's what that is. And with future workshops, we'll cover some more details around that. Now, next up was Data Studio. And again, Data Studio, we have those new tags. They already came out previously when we took a look at this. This is the new app plus web configuration. This is how you would actually set that new one up, completely separate from this, which is why you kind of think about it like a 2.0. Other than that, there are a few API changes for templates. So those of you who use custom templates, if you are using that feature, and you might want to just update yourself on the API updates that are now available for that. Again, this is a little bit more technical than I think most end users of Google Tag Manager are using. But if you are in an enterprise level, or if you have a developer who's creating custom templates for you and needs access to certain APIs, they might have those now if you take a look at those. Again, if that means nothing to you, don't worry about it. Like, you don't have to use templates. Obviously, we're not in this demo. There's a lot of stuff you can do without templates. So just want to make you aware. Of course, the winner was Google Data Studio. So we're going to spend some time going through Google Data Studio, and we're going to start with one that technically is a September update, but because it's here, I figured we should talk about it. So this is actually, as of the 1st of September, they sort of started pushing this here. Basically this, and for those of you who have used Data Studio before, you know this, it's very similar to Google Drive, hence the little Google Drive marks that I guess are now here. So when you're sharing reports back and forth, there's a Google Drive kind of interface. Well, that is very much because they use Google Drive, I should say, as the infrastructure for sharing and everything else. They are moving away from that. So they're doing this because they basically want to be able to enhance search functions and other capabilities, which I look forward to because Data Studio, the team over there is just, again, every month they do is a killer job at improving this tool, making it even more useful than it already is. And I expect that this change is allowing them to do a lot more. For the most part, I don't think you'll have to worry about anything. If you're an end user, if it's a client that you built this for, they won't notice any difference. At least that's the plan. They shouldn't notice any difference. If you are a Google Google Apps user, and that's where I'm going to give you a link to this as well. You can obviously just click on that on the Learn More button too. But down here it says for G Suite, which is what we are. We use G Suite. I think many of you probably use G Suite as well. So it's not going to migrate yet, which is my guess why we have those little Google Drive icons next there to sort of tell us where we are currently. But there will be some notifications coming through where you're going to be told, your admins will be told how to migrate. So just a little FYI. On that, and of course, this will show you more information about that as well. You can just click on the Learn More link to get to that particular page. Now, next up for Data Studio, some other changes that have come in down. Let's talk about, I'm going to pull up this little workshop example here, and we're going to go into Edit. So I'm going to show you some of the highlights of these. One is actually have a big old text block here, which can't quite tell because it's all white text, but you can see here as I highlighted, there's a lot of text in there. And the reason that even though the text field itself is literally this big, I'll make it like this big right now. See, but there's a lot of other text that's sort of overflowing there. Well, in the past, that's sort of been what you've had to do. You just make the text block bigger and it fits in. But now you can come up to overflow settings and you can flip it from visible to hidden. And now you have a scroll bar. So within the field itself, you can scroll. This is going to be super useful if you put directions or instructions or something like that. So I want to make sure that was a highlight that came out in early August where they updated that little feature. So super, super useful technique there. Other formatting options, including like line breaks and stuff like that in tables, they now allow. So if that's been something for you, you can do that. The other interesting thing I thought was really cool was an ability for filters where you have these little filter options where you can select like source and medium and everything else. Well, now you can predefine multiple filters and have them pre-selected. So if you come over in the source, you'll see where we go into data here. And underneath this, it says default. And I'm going to blow this up just a little bit so you can see it hopefully a little bit easier. There you go. So I click into this, you go to underneath the dimension, you see it says default selections. Well, comma delimited will make that a little better. So I'm going to say, let's say first is Infusionsoft, and I'm just going to use ours, and then Google, and then Mercer. We'll do those. And I'm just pulling these from just because I happen to know these are the sources here. So now this is default just showing these by default. So now if I go to view, I've basically forced the report in view to automatically have these as default. And of course, the end user can come in here and select them all and do whatever we normally do. But now you've got the ability to do default, which could be really useful if you have a client who's using something for like Facebook. And instead of having to go in there and flip it just to Facebook, you can set it to a default now. And then they can always override your default. So again, super useful. I think that's a nice little tiny enhancement, but man, it can give you a ton of control. If you are extracting data sources, this is something that's maybe the majority of you are not doing, but you can do something like extracting a data source, it's called. You can just search for that in Data Studio, and you can now auto-refresh that. So that's another feature you can do if you're doing that. But from a building perspective, another fun little feature that, again, I think is tiny to some extent, but also incredibly useful, is this. Watch what happens here. I'm dragging, and I'm taking an image from my desktop, and I'm just going to paste it right in there. Look at that. So now I don't have to go to an image, select here, go to here, and I can just drag and drop like you can in every other place in the web. So now they've got that features as well. So dragging, dropping images onto your screen, just drag and drop them. You don't have to actually go through this little import process anymore, which is fantastic. Again, I think tiny little things like that, super useful. Drill downs are now available for tables. I told you there's a lot of changes with Data Studio. So here's a regular table that we've got with our 3 different columns. You can now do a drill down. Watch the difference. So this is just with 3 dimensions, kind of in a horizontal layout. Now with a table, you can click on drill down and then default. I'm going to say it's the source for now. In fact, let's take out this little filter just so we can see everything. So I'm just going to remove these so it doesn't pre-filter. We'll see all of our different traffic sources. So there's all of our traffic sources now, but it's on a drill down mode. So if I go to view, here's how you use drill downs. Let's give us a little bit of space. So if I hover over this, now this has also got interactivity checked, right? So this is a feature that came out earlier in the year where you can see just the Google stuff and everything else, but I'm going to reset that. This is also a nice little feature, little reset feature. But drill down is up here. So it's not like Google Analytics, which I kind of wish it was, but I also understand why it's not, because this is an interactivity and the whole Data Studio report now gets filtered by Google stuff, which is kind of cool with this. And I love that functionality. Maybe like a double click would be great if I could like double click and go down a deeper level, but just currently that's not how it works. What it does is I could select, or actually I don't have to select any of these, but it'll drill down into the next level by doing this. You have to come over here, click on the arrows. So it's not super intuitive, but once you know where it is, you understand how it functions. Now I'm looking at mediums, all of my mediums, and then I can go to the next level, which was the story in this case, right? So I can see all of these different things as I drill down through. Now, if I just wanted to see, like, let's say everything that was associated to Facebook, I would select Facebook here, then drill down, and it will show me just my mediums associated to Facebook, and then drill down and show me just the source story associated to Facebook. I could also do that through obviously this for this particular example. But that's sort of the drill down feature and the fact that it is now available on table reports. That was another update. Other things, you can re-aggregate data by blending it. Again, it's going to be a little technical, but if you've ever tried to do like a average of an average and not gotten a weird result before, and you've gotten these things that don't quite make sense, it's probably because of that. So you want to take a look at that. And again, we'll give you a list of all of these so that you can look at that. That is this page here. So I'll give you a list to this so you can kind of go through the details. This won't apply to everybody, but there are use cases where this makes sense, and they've kind of given you a hack essentially. So they don't do this automatically, but you can hack it using data blending, which you might already be doing. But you'll, again, you don't have to know about this, just be aware of it. Then the function references have been updated. So now you've got, if you do calculated fields and you're doing functions with calculated fields, which you should be, and if you're not, you will be, this has just been organized a little bit to make it easier to get through, which my guess means there's gonna be a lot more stuff coming down. That's why they reorganized it. So I'm actually really glad about this, because this used to be just a really giant long list that was harder to get through. So a little easier to get through the different functions that are there. And of course you can just click on these and then get an idea of how to use it. They get great examples of all of these. The documentation's just been incredible with Data Studio. Updates, another update. The share feature has changed. You may have noticed this. This is kind of more visual. All the functions are still in there, but this is now how you can invite and schedule email deliveries and everything else. It used to be just sort of a bunch of different images that were up here. Now it's all under one. I think that is super useful. Now the invite feature itself, this is the Google Drive version of it. And then this will be the one, if I scroll down here, it'll look like this, which is a little bit more like those of you who are using shared drives on Google Drive. It's kind of like that. It has a different look to it. And it's kind of similar to this. It's not exactly that, but it's kind of similar to that. So just a little FYI of what the new update will look like when you're sharing reports. Again, this one is currently just the regular Google Drive one. So that's how we know we're still on Google Drive on ours. So we had that. Let's see, what else do we have? You can now track down to the minute on time. So it used to be on dates, you can do like day and minute, day and hour and everything. Now you can do down to the minute. So if you have a time series chart that you're messing with and you need minute, you can do that as well. There's a day, hour, minute function under the dates, so you can grab that. And then a final update was just about a metric being deprecated in Google Ads, which was the average position is what they call that in Google Ads. That's being deprecated as of the end of September, and they ask that you now do search top impression rate and search absolute impression rate. So those are some other things that were coming down. But other than that, I think the tiny little changes, something that some of those aren't really going to appeal for me personally, as I don't really use some of that stuff. But man, some of this other stuff, the things that are the tiniest things, I think for me are the design stuff. Like this, I think is going to be super useful because I can have a scroll feature or something that explains, a little explainer of how to use the chart for a client, and put more information back there than I could before. So I think that's really useful. I love the drill down feature. I think this is great. The sharing feature sort of cleaned it up a lot, which was really useful. And of course, I think the other feature that I particularly liked was the image drag and drop, because I find images a lot that we have to put in these reports, and where we do funnel images and all that sort of stuff. And it's just so much easier now to drag and drop them in. So go Data Studio. Now, finally, let's talk about a platform we haven't talked about for some updates in a while, and that is Facebook. They have gone through a facelift of sorts, and there's a little bit of redesign stuff that's causing some issues, and it is, it did with our account as well. So when you come back here, if your event source group isn't where it used to be, it's just because you got to give yourself more permission for it. They're sort of trying to put everything under this business, what do they call it? Business groups I forget the exact term that they're using. But there is some sort of business group setting you have to go through and give permissions for and recreate or give access again to the event source groups. Once you've got that back, then when you come in, you're going to see a different design, right? So you've got, the same stuff essentially, just they collapsed everything. So it's activity and people, and it's nice and collapsed. It used to be this big long list of things. But one thing that was interesting in here is outcomes. So our outcomes report, I think, is really interesting. So now, for those of you especially, and we don't, but this would be, man, I would love this. If we're doing Instagram stuff, look at this. Facebook posts, I can click on this, create a report, and it'll show me the Facebook posts that are coming through, the different formats, and then what the results of those are. Or as you saw by default, Instagram posts, Instagram stories, Instagram story formats. So we can see that and get an idea of what are the different formats of Instagram stories and which ones are creating which result. Again, you've got to make sure that your measurement is spot on this, because Facebook is an aggressive platform, as all ad platforms are, and they claim a lot. Every time something happens, they're like, we did that. So you want to make sure you tighten in your attribution windows and tighten in your pixels so that you're not giving them too much credit, but this is super useful. Like, look at this. So a really cool report you can get. And what I would really love to see is something where we can go through and build in something that comes from Facebook ads, which I don't see yet. So here's what you can do with this report. It's Facebook posts. So you can see the different impressions and things like that. We can do reactions, right? Things along those lines. Audience, the Instagram post, and then Instagram stories. So those are the three things. Super useful, super useful. But I would love to see more integration with Facebook ads. My guess is eventually that's going to happen, because it is such a natural fit for this platform. And honestly, it would make people use the platform a whole lot more. So if anybody from Facebook is listening, just a little FYI. I'm sure you're working on that, though, because it seems so obvious. So I definitely wouldn't suggest that no one else has thought about that. But anyway, outcomes, a cool little report in Facebook Analytics. So if you haven't been back there in a while, take a look at it and play around. All right, so with that, we will go ahead and bring it to a close. Hopefully you got at least one new thing. Some of these What's New versions, we rotate topics every single week on Workshop Wednesday, and of course once a month we do the What's New topic. And some of them are a little shorter than others. This one's been a little longer than the rest because there were so many changes with Google Data Studio. Even though there weren't a ton with Analytics and Tag Manager, I definitely see some things on the horizon for both of those platforms, with some things coming down the pike. But Facebook Analytics was also a nice surprise coming in. So hopefully you got at least one new thing. And again, just pick up something if not everything landed for you as something that was immediately useful, like that's okay. Just be aware of those things that they're out there. And then take maybe a few minutes to go through the documentation, especially with Data Studio, because they do such a great job. And we'll have links to that as well inside the membership area for those who are part of Workshop Wednesday. Of course, if you want to learn more about these tools, maybe even using Data Studio, maybe you didn't know that it existed and you want to learn how to actually build dashboards and all the fun stuff we've been talking about here, measure.tips/courses, we have something called What I Need courses. They're very focused. They focus on just what you need to get up and running. They're not there to make you know about every single possible thing you can do with the tools, because I think that's just too much, especially when you're just starting out. So they're hyper-focused courses designed to get you up and moving and get you results. That's why they are called WINS, standing for What I Need. So measure.tips/courses will take you there. You see all the different options. And of course, if you have a team, consider the Academy. Measure.tips/start will take you there. The Academy includes all of the WIN courses, but it also includes group coaching every single week. There's a coaching option we call Academy Office Hours, where you can talk live with an instructor. We have the Workshop Library, which is a whole other section that you can go in and ask questions by actually typing in questions, and it'll spit out videos that give you answers to those questions. And the toolbox, all the resources, et cetera, et cetera. And it comes with 4 logins, hence the team aspect. So if you have a team, Measure.tips/start would be a great opportunity to go to Measure Marketing Academy. If you are an Academy member, by the way, thank you, of course. And just a reminder, every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern is when we do the Academy Office Hours. That basically is our group coaching. So you can show up. It's typically less than 10 people that are on those calls. So it's a nice little intimate group of individuals, and people are asking each other, asking questions and are talking with instructors. And sometimes it's about strategy. Sometimes people show up just to be a fly on the wall. Others, they're sharing their screen and kind of walking through an issue that's been bugging them and they can't quite figure out. So take advantage of that if you are an Academy member. Again, every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. The links are inside the members area as well as your email. All right. Now, next week's workshop topic, it said we rotate topics every single week, and that we rotate to this week, or from this week, I should say, to next week with getting started. And that is going to be a beginner topic. So we're going to talk about setting up and using goals in Google Analytics. We will go into Google Analytics. We're going to talk about setting up destination goals, event goals, pages, and duration goals, and pages per session goals. So you can see how all of those work, and we'll talk about all the different nuances that are available back there. So hopefully you will have a chance to see that. Now, if you are not yet a part of Workshop Wednesday, you may not see that one because some of these workshops we make public, others we don't. So just sort of keep that in mind. Workshop Wednesday members get a chance to see them all. So no matter what, you get a chance to see them all. You have to join Workshop Wednesday in order to do that, though. It's measure.tips/WW. It is currently free. So again, measure.tips/WW will take you to the sign up page. And then just once a week, we sort of send you a topic update and say, hey, here's what we're covering. So go check it out. And you've got a chance to see that workshop for the entire week. So it's completely free. Take advantage of it while it is free. Again, measure.tips/WW. And then you'll have access to next week's workshop and all the other ones we do in the future. With that, we'll go ahead and bring it to a close. Thanks again for watching What's New, Updates and Features Released in August 2019. Appreciate you watching this workshop, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.